How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm ready for us to actually record this time.
Okay, that would be great.
If you're seeing this, you're seeing about the third take of this, whether we forgot to hit the record on the mics or something else. This is our third attempt at recording this particular episode, but I'm still glad we're here. I'm still really...
It's a great lesson.
Yeah.
It's a great lesson in perseverance and persistence and making sure that you show up and you continue to fight through.
Yeah. So we have about 15 minutes of audio that is absolutely terrible. But if you want to listen to it, it was good stuff. We'll put it in the show notes so you can still watch it.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. So, as we had touched upon, this podcast almost didn't happen today because I almost died this week.
Yeah.
Had the plague hit me, apparently.
Who knew in 2024 we'd be having the plague?
Yeah. So it definitely wasn't COVID, but it was something. Madi had it last week. She had some stomach issues, and then she ended up in the urgent care, the ER. And then, of course, I got it and definitely didn't go to the ER because why would we do that as men?
Right. Why would we? I don't even know what that stands for.
Urgent care.
Urgent.
What is that place?
This isn't that urgent. I'm okay. I can still breathe.
Barely, but yeah. But I was literally bedridden like an entire 48 hours, just terrible.
What did they do for Madi? Did they give her anything?
They just put some IVs in her because she was super dehydrated.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah. Then they sent her ass home.
So you saw what she got and you were like, yeah, I'm not.
Like what am I gonna do?
I'm not gonna pay for
she
that.
spent the entire day
Go get me some
at
Gatorade.
the ER. Yeah, I was like, I got electrolytes here. I'm good.
Go give me some Gatorade. I'll be fine.
Yeah, and I didn't have the stomach part of it, so I was like, I'm not. Okay. I don't need the IV.
Yeah.
I just need to get better. My body needs to.
You
recoup.
don't need like anti-nausea medicine. Or anything.
You know what's crazy, and it's the power of sleep. We talk about this too. It was Wednesday night. I was like, bro, fuck this, man. I need to sleep tonight. So I took a NyQuil, which I usually don't like to take NyQuil.
Right.
Because I like to sleep naturally. I take my magnesium, whatever.
Knocks you out.
Dude, I had the best sleep I've had in so long.
Well, and that's how people get
stuck
addicted.
On those yes, things. 100%. I remember growing up, like my parents. There was that Lunesta. Remember the Lunesta age where everybody like you had all the 30-something to 40-something-year-old parents like they were sleepwalking at night because they were fucking on Lunesta. That's why people got addicted to that.
I hope they weren't fucking on Lunesta, but. No,
I'm
you
sure
say
they were.
Lunesta, and I think of what's that movie, Role Models?
Yes.
Where he's like,
yes.
What's your name? Is Lunesta? Because I put my what does he say? Dang it, I screwed it up.
Talking about though.
But yeah, I put my enemies to sleep. Like forever, the eternal sleep. I was like, shit, that's so funny.
But yeah, that's why people get addicted to that shit, man. Because you get addicted. So, anyways, I had a great sleep that night, and immediately on Thursday, I felt so much better. And I was like, man, that's part of what it was. It was probably just the sickness plus just exhaustion.
Yeah.
We've been nonstop too. So there was a lot of things.
That's crazy that like 2 days ago you had a good night's sleep and now today you feel remotely normal enough to work out again.
Well, I worked out Thursday, actually.
Oh, did you? You worked out Thursday too?
Yeah, so I went to East Porta and we did the sauna. And I did some like accessory stuff. I didn't work out, but I got
some movement in.
Yeah, I got some movement in. I told Madi I woke up, I was like, I need to sweat the shit out. So I did the sauna. I died through the sauna. I was there for like 8 minutes, and I'm like, oh my god.
You're checking your watch.
Yeah, I'm like, this is terrible. And usually I get to that point in the sauna where like it'll be 15 minutes where I'm really starting to feel it, and you feel like that. Should I get out? Am I dying? Like
your breath is a little bit like harder.
Yeah, it's cardiovascular.
Right.
It legit is that thermogenic effect or whatever, and it was like 6 to 8 minutes, and I'm sweating. My shorts are just drenched in sweat. I'm like, oh god. So I ended up getting out like around 10, 12 minutes. I did some accessory, and then I went back into the sauna. But I told Madi when I walked out, we went and we got a good breakfast, and I was like, man, I feel so much better. Just to move, to sweat, to get into that sauna. Yeah. I'm a big proponent on the sauna, and the science behind it, and it just felt a lot better. Maybe some of it was mental, I'm sure, but I felt a lot better.
The belief of it or whatever. But yeah, it's great, and if it was a viral thing, like heating up your body is one of the ways to fight that too. Yeah. Like if it wasn't a bacteria thing, if it was a viral thing, like you got it from Madi, like great.
Yeah.
So welcome to the Dad Tribe podcast again. I'm John, fitness expert, coach, dad, husband, entrepreneur, aspiring content creator, and this is my partner,
JC. I'm a father, husband, friend of John's, entrepreneur, reader of books.
Reader of books. I'm a reader of tweets.
I'm a reader. Actually, I have a good take on that one today. Something that I learned I relearned this week about myself.
What is that?
So, and then we'll segue into our topic of the day. But
we'll get there.
But so when we moved up here about 3 years ago, I've always been a big proponent of a social media detox.
Okay.
Long term, short term, however you want to structure it, but I've always been a big proponent of a social media detox. And this week, when I was sick, I was like, oh, fuck it. I can be on all the social medias because I'm not doing shit, right? And so what I do during the week, usually on a normal basis, is I will delete X, like delete the app, formerly Twitter. I will delete X. The reason for that is it's a fucking black hole. Like you can be on.
Oh yeah.
Especially for people like us. Like I like news. I don't love news, but I like to be on top of headlines and current events and stuff like that. Love sports. It's tough, man. You can get into a black hole on X. And man, I spent probably like 24 hours that I was just like in bed, like
my thumb hurts.
Yeah, not doing shit.
I don't know why my thumb hurts, but my thumb hurts.
In bed, and I was like, man, just those like when you're reassured of decisions that you make because you've made that decision again, and you're like, what an idiot I am. You know what I mean? Like, or you do that thing that makes you want to do that decision. So I had one of those again this week, and I deleted the app. I actually downloaded a social media, an app that blocks apps for you.
Yeah.
Like a certain time frames.
restriction.
Yeah, time restriction or whatever. And I love it. I have to dive more deeper into it because there's certain times that it'll block apps that I don't need it to block, like my mail, and I'm like, don't block that. So I have to go in there and I have to
There's some adjustments.
There's some adjustments and settings that I need to make. So, but anyways, that's a little bit of a hot take. Is like the social media cleanse. Like everybody should be doing that at some point, in my estimation. Social media is made for us to be addicted to it. Just like
100%.
Just like the NyQuils of the world and Lunestas of the world are made for addiction. Like, they're made to make you feel better, but they're made so that you get addicted to it. And I mean, and social media is the same thing. They want you on the apps.
Yeah, they want you to rely on it.
That's their business. You know what I mean? Like they need you on the apps. Yeah. So us as people need to understand that, okay, and we need to make sure that we create these barriers to make sure that we don't let it become our lives, which it's already become our lives. We're doing this because of social media and because of our businesses and because of our personal brands that we would like to build, and we want to get messages out there, et cetera, et cetera. But we need to be very careful with it, and that's kind of my hot take for today. Is just like everybody should have a detox, a social media detox at some point.
I think you could say that about almost anything that makes you feel good, right? Like even working out,
except for sex.
You should take a week off. Well, depending on how addicted you are to that,
I would. Yeah.
But you should take a week off, once a year and get that complete reset. Agreed. Almost. And I go through phases. I don't think I've ever done like an official like hard stop where I've like downloaded or like uninstalled an app, but I've definitely like turned off notifications for an app and like moved it to the back page or something for a little while. And when Twitter became X, admittedly, it stopped being in my rotation of things that I would check. So like to be on Twitter now is few and far between. I'm less intrigued by it. But Instagram has just taken its place with Reels and whatnot. Like I just doom scroll on that instead. But I'm with you. I think that social media is 100% designed to keep you on the platform. That's why the algorithm is trying to send you things that you're interested in. Correct. The more you share something, the more it's going to show you that thing.
Or the more you look at something, the more it's going to show you that.
Yeah. So if you've got half-naked underage girls on your page and you don't know why,
it's
because you look at them.
It's because you look at them 100%.
Yeah. Anyways, that's not at all what we're talking about today, social media. No. We wanted to get in here and talk about the impact of sports. Yeah. Participating in them, watching them, leading our kids through them, all of that. And we're calling this episode the impact of the sports sphere. Why is that so hard to say?
Sphere.
The impact of the sports sphere. So
You're the one that named it.
yeah. So I like to talk about kind of where it all started for us, and then maybe go to where we've been to where we're going, right?
Yeah.
Kind of chronologically travel through that. We've talked in the past about your experience with baseball and your dad and whatnot. I wanted to ask you if there was anything, if there's like a sound bite or a phrase or something that you still, a mantra that you still use to this day that resonates with you in a way that maybe back then didn't, or maybe it did and you just carried it through, but something that still resonates now, possibly 25 years later, that someone once said to you as a coach and how that impacted you and how it impacts you now?
Yeah, I have a couple. What the first one off the top of my mind is one that my dad used to say, which is luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And I used to love that quote because it's the truth. Or hard work meets luck is when hard work meets preparation, or hard work meets opportunity is the usual phrase. But he used to say preparation, meaning work hard, prepare, and that's when luck happens. The other one is I had a coach in high school, Ernie Padron. He was a huge. He had a huge impact on my life. He was a great coach. We won 2 state championships together. And it was a Japanese phrase called kaizen.
Okay, you talked about kaizen before.
Which loosely means improvement in small increments. It was actually based off of I believe it was Toyota had this mantra. Essentially, it was part of their assembly line, which was 1% better on each part of their assembly line, made up a lot of percentage, X amount of percentage. And that's the kind of the whole thing is 1% better every single day. We talk about this, like the showing up, the just show up, just do the work, like. Even if you don't feel motivated, even if you don't feel ready, like there's a power in showing up, and that's kind of essentially what that means. The 1% better every single day. So small improvements is what he used to say in Kaizen, and I've always lived with that. That's a kind of a mantra that I've always loved to say and to live by, because I think it's the biggest truth. Again, it kind of goes to what we're talking about all the time of like, just be better every day. Just try to show up. Just try to get a little bit better. And there's no shame in. I think we live in a day and age today that is, and it's a little bit of that. That grind culture of like you gotta show up 100% every day because that's what the best do. Bull fucking shit. Like bullshit. You hear all these greats talk, all of them. I don't care who. The other day I was listening to Michael Phelps talk, and he was talking about like, he's like, I didn't want to swim every single day. Like, I didn't want to show up to the fucking pool every single day. It's like, there's times I would show up to the pool and I wouldn't give 100%. Like, I was just swimming. I was just going through the fucking motions, but I was there. I was going through the motions. I was showing up every fucking day. He's like, but I didn't want to every day. And I think there's a little bit of that grind culture that we've created. I would specifically say in this country of, you gotta give it your all every single day. No bullshit, bro. Not everybody feels motivated every single day. We were talking about it. You were saying like you woke up today. You're like, I didn't feel 100% motivated today, and I've had days like that this week. Yeah. Of like, I don't feel motivated. I don't feel, for whatever reason, whatever's happening in your life. Yeah. So I think that Kaizen, however you say it, stuck with me for sure. And Ernie used to say that all the time in that era, and that was the best era of his career. I know for a fact that we're still very good friends, and we became very good friends after. I ended up coaching at that same high school with him. He was the head coach still, and I coached under him. And we became very good friends, and I still use that every single day. Really, that's something that I live by. So yeah.
I think that's a very common thing, not Kaizen, but the 1% better every day. I think it's a very common like phrase that people started using, and just the compound interest, if you will, of 1% better every day is like you become 3 times better by the end of the year. It's insane. But if you only worry about getting 1% better, there will be days where you get 10% better. There will be days where you get 2% better. There will be days where you don't get 1% better, but you showed up to try to get the 1% better, right? And do the thing. And that doesn't require 100% all in every day, 365, 24/7, like you're talking grind culture. So I had a coach too that was hugely impactful on me, and it was slightly different in that, like, my mom was a single parent. I didn't have an active father figure in the father role. I had my uncle, I had my grandfather. They're both fantastic men, and could teach me a ton about the world and about how to speak with people in our family. But when it came to like being competitive and stuff, that wasn't really their realm. They weren't coaches of things. They, as far as I know, they didn't play a ton of sports like highly competitively or anything. So my most impactful coach was my cross country coach in high school. I didn't play any ball sports in high school because I graduated high school 5 foot tall, 95 pounds, soaking wet, but I could run a sub 5 minute mile. Right.
I played with a lot of balls in high school.
And he clip it, put it on his socials. Somebody take just that line and send it to his wife. And he used to say, nothing worth prunes is easy. And this impacted me so much that in college I took a speech class. I wrote a speech about how impactful this phrase was to me. And I opened my speech with that line and got a huge laugh. Like, to this day, if I say this line to my wife, she will giggle because
that's funny.
Nobody expects the word prunes to ever come out of your mouth in a speech or just in general. But he used to yell it, nothing worth prunes is easy. And basically, it was his way of not swearing at high school kids. But also it's just saying, like, nothing worth doing is going to come at very minimal effort, right? You're going to have to fucking try hard for a consistent amount of time, and you're going to have to persevere over injuries, your own mental blocks, other people telling you can't do it, whatever. But nothing worth prunes is easy. So it was, and he had such an energy about him that was so jovial and light, and he was very humorous, but when he needed to be serious, he could be serious. But most of his coaching was in that like friendly, motivated tone, and so like this just fit him so well. And I, to this day, think about like when someone's complaining about, oh, it's so hard to eat this way. Oh, I can't lift that much weight. Oh, I'll never be able to run that fast. Like, are you faster than you used to be? Well, yeah. Cool. Have you ever lifted this weight before? Well, no. Cool. So you've moved from a different point to this point, but you just think that point's certainly unattainable. Well, of course, you're not there yet. Right? And so that phrase, that sticks with me a ton. The 1% better. And then one of the ones that, not my particular coach, but I'm sure people have heard of Ben Bergeron, who has coached CrossFit athletes. He says something to the effect of like, what is it? Reality is when your expectations meet what really happens, or something like that, or disappointment or something like that. But it's the separation of what you think is going to happen and then what actually happens. And then that boils down to our reaction and our responsibility. And like, I think that's why that particular conversation we had was so second nature for me, because I've listened to that kind of message for the last, oh my gosh, 7 years now or so. Like I started listening to Ben Bergeron when I first started CrossFit back in 2017, which a member pointed out to me was a long time ago today. Literally today we're doing mobility, and she's like, when did you start? And I was like, actually Murph of 2016, I think, was my first ever CrossFit workout.
That's crazy.
Ripped my hand. We came from a bodybuilding background, and I was like, yeah, because my first open was the 2017 CrossFit Open. And I was like, so I've been doing CrossFit for almost 8 years or something stupid like that. And I was like, I didn't realize it had been that long. I think it's only been like 3 years, but I've been coaching for like...
Time flies, man.
Yeah, but I've been coaching for like 6 years. So like I have no idea. Anyways, nothing worth prunes is easy. Massive impact on my life.
I love that. That is a great phrase. For sure. And it's the truth. I mean,
it's 100% the truth. And it's a very like non-serious way to say something very serious. And I think that that's going to be the way that I want to teach Peyton about these kind of things. I don't want to put the weight of the world on a kid, but I still want her to understand things that maybe she won't fully grasp until she's, high school age. But I don't want to say to her, well, nothing worth having is easy. You need to work hard. Like I want to make it silly. I want to make it fun. I want to make it light, but I want to make it something she's going to remember. And I think I'm going to take that exact phrase and just basically.
Yeah. And I think those type of phrases and teachings are so important, especially moving forward now that everything is so easy and we live in a very instant gratification world that it's tough. You anything right now that you do, talking about socials, etc. Like everything is instant gratification. Everything is right there at our fingertips. So it's very difficult to comprehend that. Like, no, something might take
putting in the time,
3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like, what? You know, why?
and you may not get that return.
And you may not get the return.
Yeah.
100%. There's that famous, I think I've mentioned it before, where Seth Rogen, he talks about it. He's like, they ask him, how, why did you make it? Or how did you make it? And he's like, in his weird, no, he's like, I didn't stop. And when they're like, what do you mean? He's like, I just didn't quit. I had friends of mine that were way more talented than me. They were going to make it and they fucking quit. And I didn't, and I made it. And he's like, that doesn't mean that I was guaranteed making it.
Yeah.
Like I could have not made it.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't quit doesn't mean I was going to make it.
Yeah.
And I think that's super valuable. Again, especially nowadays where everything is instant gratification, it's going to be a tough conversation and a tough demand for us to teach our kids that.
Yeah. You saying that spurred another quote that was impactful to me when I was younger, but I've kind of reframed it as a coach.
Phone's going off.
Yeah. And do you know who Steve Prefontaine is?
No.
So he was an American distance runner who was set up to potentially break the world record in the 5K, like wicked fast. But he was an alcoholic. He was kind of they made a couple movies about him, but he's one of the more inspirational runners because he ran to the beat of his own drum. He was very serious about it. They told him he couldn't do it. He was like, I'm gonna fucking do it anyways. His coach was Bill Bowerman, who helped invent Nike. He notoriously thought the Nike swoosh was stupid and it was wind resistance on his shoes. Like, he's a guy, but he said to give anything, he's a guy, but he said to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. And I used to live by that almost like 100%, right? And that's what created like grind culture and all that. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. And I've kind of flipped that into to give anything less than your best effort, right? The effort that you have for the day. I keep telling my clients, I keep telling members, I keep telling everybody, like, they're like, oh, I'm just not feeling it. I'm like, well, what do you got? Are you at 50%? Are you at 30%? Are you at 80%? They're like, I'm probably at like 35%. I'm like, great, give me 35%. What does that look like?
Yeah.
And like, the only thing that I want people to do is give me their effort. And I've started saying, hey, you give me your best effort, I can guarantee you results. Are they going to be the results you picture in your head? Maybe not. Depends on your effort.
Right.
But I can get you results as long as you give me everything you've got for that day.
Right.
It doesn't mean 100% every day. It's 100% of what you have, maybe.
Yeah.
And so you saying all that made me think of Steve Prefontaine. I haven't thought about Steve Prefontaine in a long time.
Damn. That's cool.
But yeah, he was. If you haven't watched any of the Prefontaine movies, there's a couple of them out there. They're a good watch. They're a good time. Highly recommend. Cool. That's my rec for today's podcast.
I have a last one.
Yeah, go for
and
it.
I don't know the whole quote, but it's Calvin Coolidge persistence quote, where he goes essentially, doesn't matter how educated you are, doesn't matter how, he goes through a couple of the traditional pre-qualifications of what success is, and he's like, what really matters is persistence, like, and it goes back to that Seth Rogen quote. It's like, just persist, like push through, like continue going, and I love that quote. And my dad actually lives by that quote. He had a plaque in his office that said Calvin Coolidge, and it was the full quote. And I love that quote. We'll put it in the show notes, but I definitely love that quote. I wasn't gonna try to say it because I know I'm gonna fucking butcher it.
We'll just like put it over your face and just mute you
Yeah,
for a
you
second. All right, so all of those, the coaches that impacted our lives, right? We've carried this into our adulthood, and now we have kids who are within the next couple of years going to start doing sports or activities or something with other kids, right? And you hear about all those parents who like run onto the field and yell at referees, and they're the toxic side of kids sports. But I'm curious as to, like, as Braden's starting to show his interest in baseball also, like, have you given any thought to, and if you have, what sort of thought have you given to the type of sports dad you're going to be for him?
Yeah, I'm gonna be in left field with my tent and my Yeti chair and my big cup with Madi right next to me and a big cooler with nice snacks. No, I definitely have thought of it because, again, I grew up in an insanely heavy baseball culture. Travel ball, we've talked about that, and my dad was active because he was a coach on the team, so he was by default very active. He was one of my coaches, and I have to say I was very lucky. Although my dad was very tough on me, he was not one of those crazy dads that you got in the car and he'd fucking go off on you like, "What, you suck."
He had a rolled up newspaper just for you.
No. On the contrary, he was great. We would always we talk about it now. We laugh about it now that we'd, after every game, win or lose, we'd just go to eat something. Like that was kind of our either our misery food or our celebration food, but it was always food.
Nice.
Which probably started a really bad eating habit for me, but
Maybe.
whatever. But so he wasn't one of those dads. So I'm very lucky on that end, and I think ultimately that is in similar fashion how I want to be. I think I am already very tough on B, just because it's in my nature. I'm a go. You know me, like
Run through the wall
entrepreneur, like, and that's just in my nature.
Yeah. What did I have to say to you the other day? Because you just wanted the fastest way to do something. What did I?
Oh yeah.
I said something I felt very wise after I said it.
Yeah,
too.
you're like if it's okay for it to be tough now so that it could be easy in the long run, something like that. And I agree with that, by the way. I say that all the time to my employees.
Yeah, but that's that's just your nature, though, is to be the guy who wants to do it fast now.
But
get it going.
But what I was trying to specifically tell you was that I need something in that thing that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I need something that's going to be plug and play, very easy, so that
minimal hurdles.
Yeah, so that I can show up in front of the computer and start talking, and it could be content. That's what I was talking about. So I didn't necessarily want an easy way. I just wanted a way that it could be easy moving forward. But yes, but you were right, 100%. I did find a way though.
Good.
I did find a way. So as far as the father that I want to be, Dad, I think by nature I'm already pretty tough on B. He's a smart kid. He's like me, a very determined, like he runs through walls type deal. And I think he is already showing where he needs a little bit of those bumpers in that framework. Like I don't have to push him to do stuff and you get what I'm saying? Like he's balls to the wall.
You don't have to encourage him to get started. You more have to rein him in.
Yeah, okay. You kind of have to put bumpers around him, which is great. I love that. So I'm already being that to him and being a little bit more of the disciplinarian and a little bit tougher. But yeah, definitely not the father that runs onto the field and scolds or gets in an argument with the referee or the umpire.
Do you think that's driven by being overly competitive? Like
No.
What do you think that's driven by?
I think most of the time that's parents that are living vicariously through their children.
Oh yeah.
Most of the time.
Probably a good call.
Because the competitive dad, the super competitive dad, is the one that gets in the car and then will get really like riled up with his son, whatever, and a lot of times it's probably justified, and if you don't go too far, like it's a good teaching moment, whatever. To an extent. Okay, I could see that. I know fathers growing up that were like that with their kids, and their kids were fine, and they had a good relationship. And again, if you don't take it over the top,
right?
But specifically what you're talking about, which is like the run onto the field and scold an umpire or whatever the case.
Berate another official or another adult at a child's game.
Right, or the one that's like behind the fence, like, screaming at his kid to do something, whatever. Like, no, that's probably a father that didn't really play much sports in his life and living vicariously and wanted to, or was not very good at their sport and living vicariously through their child. And by the way, I know, but growing up, we knew a lot of those, and we saw a lot of those, as better said. And I know individuals in our circle, 6 degrees of separation, that are like that.
Right.
That it's because of that, because they just weren't good athletes and they're living through their child. I mean, it's very simple.
I think that's so hard to. I think that's one of those things that like people's identity gets so tied to that too. They're like, I want my kid to be successful because then I'll feel successful, but they don't see that connection for their identity. They don't. It's so driven by their ego, and they feel so proud that they created something that has the potential to be so successful in the way that they want to be successful. I'm with you. I think that being a tough, like, second set of eyes from your coach isn't necessarily a bad thing, provided that I'm gonna put a caveat on it, that you went, hey, was that the best you had in you today?
Right.
And they go, no. You're like, cool. Here's where I think you need to work on it. Correct. Do you agree? Like, it becomes more of a collaborative effort. So like, whereas like I think the coach's job could be more the disciplinarian. Hey, you need to straighten up, fly right. Like, and the family should be more the, hey, how do we work on this together, moving forward and stuff like that.
It also, again, I think it depends on the relationship that you have with your child.
100%.
And if you're, for instance, and I'll put myself in the shoes of myself. Growing up, me and my dad played baseball growing up. Mm-hmm. And then he was also kind of my hybrid coach. In a lot of cases, he was actually my coach. He was an assistant coach or whatever the case may be. So, yes, there was a kind of a collaborative effort, but there was also like real talks like, yo, you got to do this better because the team needs this and this and this. Mm-hmm. Like, there was different conversations. Right. You get what I'm saying? So
there's different levels of conversation.
If you're a father or a parent that didn't play that sport, don't really know much about that sport, then at that point, I think it's more of a collaborative effort. Like, if I know a lot about basketball, but I never played basketball, and if Braden by any stretch of the imagination becomes a great basketball player,
or gets really tall somehow,
and starts playing basketball and becomes a great basketball player and starts to play AAU and really gets competitive in basketball, like, I'll be able to understand the macro of the game, but I didn't play it competitively.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
So you're gonna be able to create your space and what you can help with, and you're gonna do your best not to step outside.
Right. I'll be more collaborative with him.
You're not gonna be like, hey, you need to get the ball more.
Correct. I'll be more collaborative. I'll be more inspirational. Yeah. I'll be more leader to him than I will be like, hey, you need to do this because this is what I know.
Yeah.
Where in baseball, again, I don't want to be too much of that because I don't want to be a coach. I've already gone down that path, so I'll never be Braden's coach. I hope not. Like, I really do hope not. I don't want to go down that route.
No.
But I'll also be not so much of a collaborative person with him. I'll be that, but I will be also strategic and game planning when we get into the car. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
you just spun into something that I hadn't even thought of. With Peyton being as young as she is, right? I've thought about her doing like dance or gymnastics or, heaven forbid, softball or something. But like, what if she wants to do fitness?
Right.
I've never even thought about it till this very moment. Like, what if she wants to do fitness? I don't know that I want to be her coach, but I also don't want to be her coach in that realm, and like try to get her to be a competitive fitness athlete, or even just be as good as she wants to be, whatever it is. I don't know that I want to be that guy, because I do have the inside knowledge, like you're talking about, of what that might take, what that might look like, what the training could hold for her. But I've never, like, you just smacked me in the face with that. I never even thought about it.
That was one of my biggest frustrations as a coach right out of college, as an athlete, as a baseball player, coaching high school kids. That was one of my biggest frustrations, because in a lot of cases, when you become a coach and you're a good coach, right? Like, perfect example is Eric Spoelstra. He played college basketball. he wasn't good enough. Like he wasn't really a good athlete. He played.
got it.
I mean, he was a good basketball player, but
Those that can't do teach.
right. And my biggest frustration was I was pretty good at baseball. Like I was a good baseball player. I was a good hitter. Not good enough to make it to the league, but I was good.
Got it.
So my biggest frustration was I wasn't like one of those guys that you're bad enough and then you become a coach, but you understand the game enough to become a really good coach. Like I was good enough. So I knew exactly what needed to be done and I actually did those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would coach these kids and I'm like, yeah, no, like you don't have the heart or you know, you're not doing it correctly, whatever. It was very tough for me. And ultimately I was like, I can't do this. I get so frustrated at these guys because I'm trying to teach them.
Yeah.
And when they tell me, no, it can't be done that way, I'm like, we did it that way. I did it that way.
Right.
Like, and I succeeded in doing it.
Right.
It can be done that way. And high school kids are a pain in the fucking ass to coach. Like, you're such a. Obviously, we were one at one point. Like, we're such assholes at that age. I think so.
We were.
You're such an asshole at that age.
Yeah. Well, you think you know everything. You
for real, you do, and it's very tough. I don't understand. Again, I did it. I have all the respect for the Lord. Don't understand is not the right way to say it. I have all the respect in the world for these individuals that coach high school for a long time, and they're very good at it, and they win in high school, whatever, because it's very tough.
Yeah,
very tough in high school. College is not way easier. There's a lot more things to do in college, but the kids that are playing in college are way more committed.
Well, yeah, it's a different level. Anybody can go out and play in a high school team, depending on what area you're in. Right? Miami's probably more competitive than the average
very competitive
area. But,
this area is great too.
Yeah, but you're right. Like the older you get, it starts to cull the lower tier of talent or hard workers or commitment. And that I think that could be said for any sport.
Yeah,
I think you can say that for any sport. So when you say it gets easier to coach in college, you're not talking about winning games. It's you get people who are more committed and are more open to coaching.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Kids are a lot more coachable in college.
You say that, and I see this picture of like kids who are really young and don't know anything, super coachable. They learn a little bit. They get into high school. They think they know everything. Totally uncoachable, except for a few.
Yeah.
And then you go back up into college. It's like most of those people are super coachable.
Yeah. It's
like
crazy.
that's the vision.
Because you're so hyper committed in college.
Yeah, that's the visual.
For the most part, like especially like if you're in a D1 program.
Yeah.
Like you're fucking committed, man. Like
well,
you're
not only that, this is the shot. This
right,
is it.
Right,
if I want this to be the thing, I need to either go all in on this and have education as my background, or I need to use this to go all in on my education. Like those are the two routes you can go as a D1 athlete. Yeah. And like you're getting a hell of an education, hopefully at whatever school you're at. So you win both ways in that. Not only that, like I think we've talked a little bit about like it's not what you know, it's who you know. And being a D1 athlete, you meet a shit ton of people who can help you in different avenues.
It's great networking. Especially nowadays, man. Especially with the resources these kids have nowadays at these D1 programs, etc. Like fantastic.
Not only that, all the NIL stuff and whatnot, they can.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much money in college. Again, especially these big, like, Division I colleges. What do we got, bro?
All right. So we talked about being a competitive dad. We talked about some of the toxic things that happens. We talked about coaches who impacted us. It was all fairly positive stuff. I want to talk about something a little bit more negative, and that is the era that we're in kids sports, being that everybody's a winner. The participation trophy era. I want to say this with the caveat of there are some people who do it in a way that I don't think is undermining winning and losing.
Right.
But I think that the general kid gloves that some sports organizations use in kids sports to make sure that nobody gets their feelings hurt goes a little too far. Like for me, when the winners and the losers get the same prize, you're doing a disservice to both teams. Like if you get a ribbon for winning and you get a ribbon for losing, there's some disconnect there. But I'm interested on your take on the participation trophy era that we've experienced since, because like when we were growing up, you got a participation trophy if you were honorably mentioned, like you were just off the podium and everybody else got nothing.
Right.
Or you got something that was internal for just your team. It wasn't from the league. It wasn't, you didn't get recognized from anybody else.
Yeah.
Like your team was like, hey, cool, we're a good team. We liked playing with each other.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the league didn't recognize you. You know
Correct.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted you to hear what you thought on participation trophy era.
Ah, man, we're gonna be here a while.
Well, I got thoughts on it too, but
Yeah.
I posed the question. You got to answer.
Yeah. No. So I think our generation, our mindset specifically, is very unique because we don't necessarily believe in participation trophies, but at the same time, we're also not on the other end of the spectrum of like, winner, you're loser. So I think it's a very we're in a very interesting
Gray area.
Right? But it's not really gray. Kind of. I am completely opposed to the everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's feels like a winner. I'm completely opposed to that.
Yeah.
I go back to in life, in anything that you do, like you have to, in anything that if you're a coach, if you're a parent, whatever the case may be, you are preparing the children, our children, for life, for the world. Okay. I think it's my mother-in-law that says like you're not raising your children for you, you're raising them for the world. And that's the biggest truth, right?
It's massive.
Right. And as much as people want to make the world and organizations acceptable and inclusive, whatever the word you want to use, the world is never going to be that. We don't live in a utopia. And there's always going to be competition. There's always going to be winners and losers. There's always going to be good people. There's always going to be bad people. That's going to exist in every time frame, every time period.
Right.
100 years from now, 150 years from now.
Right.
So with that said, you don't gain anything and you don't teach anything by giving participation trophies because that's not the world. That's not reality. Reality is that child then or in 5 years or in 10 years is going to realize that there are winners and there are losers in sports. That is part of sports. Okay. Instead of doing that, I think we need to put our energy into teaching kids that it's okay when you do lose, but you need to learn from losing. Okay. Just like, by the way, you need to learn from winning because I think there's a lot of things to learn from winning. But it's not about masking the fact that you lost, right? You lost. And there's no other way of cutting it.
Yeah.
Like you were not good enough or whatever happened. Sometimes you are maybe good.
On that given day.
On that
you
given
weren't the
day
better-
or that given series or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
That other opponent was better than you.
Yeah.
Therefore, they won.
They completed the objective better
Better than
faster,
you.
more points, whatever it is. But yeah, I get
That's
what you're-
fucking life.
They're the winner.
That happens. It's going to happen in the work. It's going to happen at school. It's going to happen on the ball field. It's going to happen wherever. That's going to happen, and that's okay because there are teachable moments there. And instead of, as a society, spending our time and our energy in coddling and masking the fact that, oh, you lost. No, you didn't lose. You participated, and that's what's important. You did participate. You showed up. That's great. You didn't win. You lost. And now here are the things that we can learn from losing so that next year or tomorrow, next year, whenever, maybe you can win. It's not a guarantee though.
Yeah.
But the things that you're learning here are going to help you get a better possibility to win. That's the energy we need to be spending. Not on you didn't lose, you participated. I think that's and it's completely contrary to how we think and how we believe and everything, at least in here in our, and I know you feel the same way. There's other things that we could teach from those moments that are not coddling and masking and sugarcoating is the best way to put it. Because again, we're not teaching our kids, we're not raising our kids for ourselves, we're raising our kids for the world. They're going to go out in the world. They're not going to live in the house I hope that they're not going to live in the house for the rest of their life. Like they're going to go out in the world. They're going to go out into the job force. They're going to go out into life, man. And in life, there's people that are going to be better than them. I haven't been the smartest person in every room. I haven't been the best athlete in every baseball team. Like
there's something that's so real about only one person can be the best.
Yeah.
Only one person can be the best. Everybody else is second best or worse.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to be the best, that takes a completely different mindset from somebody who's trying to be good or great or amazing. But if you're trying to be the best, you can be the only one. There's a difference in that.
So that's my take.
I think that's great. I think that there's a lot in there that I do agree with. I think that the participation trophy era is something that is going to ultimately create. If it's something that's going to keep being, systemically done on all levels of sports, right? I guess not keep, but if it's something that's going to seep into that like you are going to miss out on a great opportunity to learn a lot of really hard lessons early on in much lower stakes, right? Like losing a t-ball game and losing your grandmother, right? Very different things, but understanding that like something's not going to last forever. A win streak doesn't last forever. You're not going to be the best forever. Somebody's always going to come along and be better. You're not going to be able to be on a winning streak your whole life. Life has ups, life has downs. Sometimes you're down longer than you're up. It happens. But if we don't allow our kids to experience those things that are so much less serious than what's going to happen when they're, in college, in starting their own life, going through relationships, finding a spouse, maybe losing that spouse through divorce or other things, and they're just like, yeah, but where's my trophy for participating? Why is this happening to me? I'm not supposed to lose. I'm supposed to still be a winner.
Yeah, there is none.
The mindset of that to me is so backwards from how much stronger I believe they would be if they had gone through those experiences of losing. And there's something to be said about being on the worst team in the league. There's something to be said like that's an impressive feat in itself. You didn't beat a single other team. What did you do?
Good for you.
Good for you. Like, hey, good for you. Did something that no one else did too. That person won all the games. You lost all the games. Nobody else did that.
You were the winners of losers.
Like, how impressed? I was so impressed when the Detroit Lions went 0-16. I was like, how? Yeah. Like, and all of their games, like I think it was like 6 or 7 of the 16 games were decided by 3 points or less.
Yeah.
Like, so you were this close.
Yeah.
You were this close to winning 7 times.
That's tough.
You went from being a 7-8 team to an 0-16 teams 7 times.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. And a professional team at that. That has to be so tough to be a professional and lose that much. Like, that has to be really tough. I think about that all the time. Of I think about it with the Marlins now, because the Marlins have sucked as an organization for the last.
Well, they fire sale as soon as they get good.
Yeah.
But hold on. Before we leave the Lions, but that season of losing made this season of making it to the playoffs so
much
sweet.
better. Yeah, so
for
sweet.
The fans, for the organization,
and for the players that were in that season.
Granted, like not many of those players that were on that season were on that team. Like that was long enough ago that like
I'm sure there's a few, but yes, I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? But the people who were a part of that team have a part of that. Like,
and the fans too.
I'm sure that Dre Bly's out there somewhere watching this team go to the playoffs. Like, that's those are my Lions. Yeah. Those are the ones who don't give up and they keep going. Like. So, and I'm not a Lions fan. I'm from Florida. I'm a Bucks fan all the way.
Dolphins fan.
But it's to me, it's like that victory wouldn't be as sweet without the losing. You can't have the good without the bad. You got to learn about the bad so you can appreciate the good.
Man.
Or else we have the potential to be this entitled culture of people who just think you're supposed to win all the time for not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's two caveats there. One of them is, yes, there's a lot to learn from losing. Mm-hmm. And there's a Tom Hanks quote, this too shall pass. We've talked about it before. Yeah. Love that quote. So simple, so short.
It's just a season.
But it's so true. Mm-hmm. It's this too shall pass. But he talks about like, it's not just in the down times. He goes, even in the high times, I tell myself the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, this too shall pass. And I think one of the caveats to learning when you lose is you also learn when you win.
Yeah.
You learn a lot of lessons when you win, because what ends up happening when you win is you can get lazy, you can get fat and lazy, right? Like you can get lazy, you can say, well, I made it here because I'm just that good,
right?
And not realize it was all those steps or maybe all that losing that helped you get to that point,
right?
And you kind of forget that. And I think the this too shall pass. I know that was one of the things that we had in like the show notes today is there's so much learning in losing, but there's so much learning in winning, and both are so essential to growth. And to go back to kind of this original point of the participation trophies, it's that underlining, I guess, point would be that is I too agree. Obviously, like I said, I don't agree with the participation trophies, and I think it's something that's super detrimental long term to kids. Because when you become an adult, man, like nobody gives a shit.
I often wonder how it all started. Like, was it just a mom or dad was just so upset that their kid was so sad that they didn't want them to be sad anymore, and it started out as like this wholesome idea to protect their kid. Because, like, I get where that's coming from, but then at the same, like, on the flip side of that thought, you have to be like, yeah, but I can't protect them forever. Like, you have to have, you can have that first thought of, like, I need to protect my kid from as much as possible, and this is hurting them, so I'm going to protect them from this. But then, like, you got to realize, but one day I'm not going to be able to protect them. Like, they're going to grow up and be their own person, and how should a well-adjusted person for the world handle this? And it's like we only did half the work.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I don't know how it started.
I don't know how it was up here, but I saw it in our culture, in our city, in Miami, growing up. Like, we had a huge generation of parents that are my age or a little bit older than me, that for whatever reason, they got into their heads that they were their kids' friends and not their parents. Like, the way that a lot of a little bit older than me parents parented their kids or have parented their kids, probably maybe a little bit older, has been in that light. Like, I'm my kid's best friend. I'm their buddy. Like, no, you're not. You're their parent. And although maybe long term, like I'm my dad's friend. Like, me and my dad are friends now. Like, he's I could venture to say he's like a best friend to me, but he's my dad.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things that I won't, like, for instance, when I'm with my dad, there's still a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Always. Like, there's always like this, like.
But there's a mutual respect about.
But it's a mutual respect. It's not, and it's not something that he imposes on me. It is something that through our relationship growing up, the way that we ran, or he ran the household, the way that our relationship grew, he calls me sometimes to vent, like just to talk as a friend. But when we're together or we're in a situation, like, there is always that underlining hierarchy that I respect and he respects, and it's never spoken about. Like, we probably have never had a conversation about it. I think maybe one time I had a conversation with my brother about it. But, like, we'll go to dinner, and my dad, if I paid maybe 2 weeks ago at a dinner that we went out, and my dad said, "What the fuck are you doing, bro?" Like, he was so awesome. Offended that I was gonna go pay. But again, we grew up and growing up, I was never my dad's friend. Definitely not. No. You know what I mean? There was always that respect factor. Yeah. And I never feared my dad. Yeah. But he was not my friend. And I think there's a very specific distinction there. Like, Braden said something the other day. He says, "You're my best friend," and I wanted to tell him, like, he's 3 years old. So I'm like, hey, I'm not your best friend. I'm your dad.
Well, you might as well take it while you can, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In a couple of years, you're not going to be
that's going to go away. Kid. That's going to go away very quickly. But that's the relationship that I don't want to be Braden's friend. I want to be his dad. Yeah. Okay, long term, when I'm 60 years old, I would love to be Braden's friend, but I want to be his dad.
I want to challenge you. You want to be his dad first.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, it's not that you don't want to be his friend. Yeah. It's not dad or friend. It's not binary. It's not this or that. But you want to be dad first, and then support him enough to grow into a friend.
Correct.
Or when the time is right or the subject matter is appropriate, be there for him to be in a friend capacity.
Correct. And I think a lot of people lead with the friend first.
So so as soon as you're talking about that, I think about that movie Mean Girls, where Amy Poehler's trying to be the cool mom, the hip mom, and like, oh, what are you guys talking about?
It's that.
And that's where I think it stems from. I think people they want to be their kid's friend first because they want to be the cool parent. They want to be liked, and it's a primal urge in humans to want to be liked. You want to be accepted into the tribe, and when you see a tribe that doesn't accept you, it hurts. It's hard to accept, but there are tribes that we're not going to be a part of.
Right.
Like, I'm never going to be a Red Bull breakdancer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not going to be accepted in that tribe. My dance skills are right here, right? I know I got the 2-step down, and that's it.
What is it, Hitch?
Right? Yeah, Hitch. Yeah, you live right here. I'm not going to do the Q-tip, you know?
What a great movie, by the way.
A great movie. But if I tried for it and they said no, like, yeah, that's still going to hurt.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe those same parents have a similar line of thinking as the participation trophy parents. And so, like, working on myself and working on my growth has stemmed into helping my wife grow, and vice versa. She's helped me grow. And I hope that as a unit, we can help Peyton go through her own sports journey, unique from both of ours, because Megan didn't do the traditional sports like I did or you did. She wasn't what we call an outside kid. And Peyton is right now for sure an outside kid.
That's so awesome.
But I want her to become the type of person that can win with grace, can lose and hold her head up, can go through a tough time but know she's going to make it in the end, that this too shall pass. And I want sports to be an integral part of that, should she so choose. If she chooses to go the arts route, I almost think that that's harder because art is so subjective. So if she goes, singing or theater or band or whatever, somebody else is rating you on that. You're not competing against another person doing the same exact thing, right? Like, I also did theater, but like, if I did a dramatic monologue from, some play, and you did a different dramatic monologue from a different play, but they say that yours was better than mine, it's not the same as apples to apples. You're not scoring points in the same basket.
Subjective.
It's more subjective, and I almost think that that's harder to wrap your head around.
Sure.
And be like, okay, they beat you at this.
Right.
Because someone believed they beat you at this, and there's that whole argument. Yeah. But either way, I hope that I can help and guide Peyton into that as a parent, and then eventually, like you said, become the friend, the trustworthy figure, the person we go to for advice, and venting and that kind of stuff. And I think that Megan's going to better fill that role than I am. I think I'm always going to be the authoritative, protective one. Right now, I'm the preferred parent. I'm going to eat it up. But
I'm not.
But until I think that's a normal thing. I think as you get older and he starts becoming more of a man, you guys align.
And it's
more.
crazy how he changes his tune when he's with, like, when Mari's in the room with me.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, man. He's like, he puts like protective mode on. It's
that's
like
insane.
all mom. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's insane.
It's crazy. Mari asked me the other day. She's like, does he only do that when I'm in the room? I'm like, yeah.
You should like set up a nanny cam.
Yeah, I would love to, because it is the truth. Like, when she's not here, and it's funny, the fucker will ask me in the morning when I wake him up. He'll be like, "Is Mama here?" And I go, "No, he's at work." And he immediately is like, "All right, cool. You're cool now, man. Like, let's vibe." And he's in a great mood. It's every time, dude. But
he's like deciding whether or not he's going to be in a certain mood.
But if Mari's here, it's like, all right, get the fuck out, dude. It's me and Mama. Like, so move, dude.
That's so
you're in
funny.
the way. Yeah, it's crazy. Yep. It's very very protective.
I feel so guilty whenever Megan is carrying Peyton and she does the to me, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
No, you're with Mom. Like, you're good.
Yeah,
you're good. You're great. Oh, uppy.
Yeah,
uppy. I think the two most common words that I hear are uppy, and it's either a tie between dada and outside, because dada will take you outside. Dada is an outside kid, just like you.
Yeah.
So we will go outside. We went outside the other day and we walked all the way from our house to the park.
That's cool.
Because she just wanted to be outside, and and then she's like, slides. I'm like, I don't want to go all the way to the slides. Yeah, slides. Let's go. Let's do it.
That's the worst, when you don't feel like going to the playground. You're like,
and it was like noon, so the slides are hot.
Yes.
And she wants to go on the big slides, and I don't feel comfortable. Like, most of the time, Megan and I will both go, and Megan will go up with her, and I'll be at the bottom to catch her, and she'll go down the slides by herself. But like I don't trust her not to run out the gaps that don't have slides.
Right.
And like try to climb down something. She can't do that. She's not big enough.
Yeah.
She doesn't know. She doesn't understand gravity. Like that's
It's like
recipe for broken arms and
Yes.
stuff. And I'm not gonna be the guy who brings home a kid with a broken arm and says, "Hey, we got to go to urgent care."
Oh, jeez.
I don't want to be that guy.
I had to bring home my sister one time. We were in our cul-de-sac, and we were playing around. I think we were rollerblading or whatever the fuck.
Rollerblading.
And we were walking back we went to like the stop sign, and then we were coming back, and the neighbor's dog came out and just barked.
Yeah,
It didn't really like
scared
her. She starts to, again, I don't know if she was running, rollerblading, whatever the fuck, and she fell on her arm, and her arm popped out, like her just, like
wrong way.
And when I picked up her arm, it was spaghetti, dude. It
Oh
was
my
just so
God.
the nastiest thing.
Oh.
And I walked her to the house, and I opened the door. My dad's there, and I go, "Pop, I think it's broken." And I'm just holding this spaghetti arm in my hands. And he looks at me and goes, "It's broken."
Oh no!
He put her on the couch, and she was just like this. And she's a champ. We always say that she has bigger balls than me and my brother put together.
I don't know that I'm prepared for that.
Oh my God, it was
I think about that.
thing.
I think about that all the time.
Nasty.
Because
I do think about that all the time.
She climbs on everything, but she doesn't jump off of anything yet. But I think about it all the time because she trips on her toes. She's got her mom's clumsiness,
Braided too.
but she's got my outside kidness.
So I got to talk to my therapist about this because I know that there's something here.
I might have to talk to your therapist about this.
Yes. So I have these. So Mari knows because every fucking night, as I'm falling asleep, you know that weird, like you're not dead asleep, but you're not awake. It's
Hate it.
And my mind starts to race. And for whatever reason, my mind has decided to go into the worst possible scenarios with Braden. Does that happen with you?
So not with Peyton,
But
yet.
in general,
in general, it will do that. And when I fall asleep in that state, my dreams are usually wildly fear driven.
Wild, man. Yeah. There has to be some correlation to like you not being dead asleep and your mind racing, whatever. But it's been happening maybe like the last I would say 3 months.
Yeah.
Where it's almost every night where I will again not dip into a very deep sleep, and something will happen. Like fucking think of the worst thing that can happen to Braden. It fucking happens in this dream.
Yeah.
And then I wake up. You know, like
adrenaline running. And
have you ever had the ball hitting you in the face dream? The one who you go like this, yeah.
Or you fall asleep in class and your head falls.
Yeah. Like one of those. So and it's one of those. Like it'll happen and I just like freak out. I spasm and Mari's like you know the first couple of times, Mari, you okay? You okay? Now she doesn't even ask me. She's like, I don't even want to know.
I wouldn't want to know either if it's the worst thing that could possibly happen to my kid.
Dude, it's fucking terrible, man.
Terrible.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously it's a fear that I have that I've thought of that it's coming to fruition in my dream.
Right.
But yeah, it's the worst. And hopefully it's for a good thing. Hopefully it's
preparation.
Yeah, preparing me for, to understand
If and when.
for those maybe it is part of that of like those bumpers that I talk about with Braden. Like maybe it's like
Mental.
subconsciously,
Yeah.
So
my I think the ones that I have are like me failing as a parent. So it's not like necessarily her doing something out of my control, but it's something that I feel should be in my control, like being in a car accident or being in a swimming pool or like those things. I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's I'm not allowing myself to go to the worst case scenario, or if I've just gotten, not to like toot my own horn, but really good at the whole it's outside my control. That one shouldn't bother me, so maybe I just don't think of it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I get that, and I do a fairly good job in my life of trying to worry less. And I definitely worry less than my wife does. So my dreams are very rarely fear-driven. So when they are, they're wild, like Wild West wild. Giant spiders and
really?
Yeah. Like I don't like spiders.
Yeah.
They don't bother me as long as they're over there, right? Whereas like Megan doesn't like bees, or wasps, and stuff like that. Like she doesn't like those, and those don't. As long as they're flying around and they're not trying to land on me, I'm fine. Like it's cool. But like she sees something buzzing and she's like, get it now. Like
That's funny.
Yeah, it's yeah, so I get that. And I think that a lot of that happens because you're not fully, and I don't know this, there's no science behind this, is just my anecdotal. I think a lot of that is like there's something nagging at your subconscious. There's something that you're stressed about. And like you've had a lot of change, you've had a lot of growth going on in your professional life. So I can understand not fully being able to tap into that deep REM sleep and like letting go of the day, even with your nightly routine of separating yourself from your phone and reading and all that stuff.
As much as I can.
There's some tether to something that's going on in the day that you're not allowing yourself to let go of. And I think that's what keeps us from going into the deep sleep. I think of it, the visual for me, and I'm a very visual thinker. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I am.
I think of it as like you're casting a fishing line and it's not sinking all the way to the bottom. You're like just under the surface. So like you can still see everything that's going on up there. And so like you're not fully immersed. And
I get what you're saying.
And so like, yeah, I think that then your fear drives what's going on in that scenario for some reason. I don't know what part of the brain it is or anything like that, but yeah, it's like you're here when you're awake and you're trying to get all the way back here, but you only make it to here, and it's like, oh shit, that's where the fear is.
Like, yeah, I'm also having these weird dreams where it's like my mind is literally racing. Like I visually see it.
It's
really
yeah,
weird.
You're going frame.
Yeah. Like they're trippy ass dreams, but it's literally like my mind is going frame to frame to frame. Like, the worst.
Mine will do that, especially if I eat too close to going to sleep, or if I don't.
That's helped me a lot.
I don't walk or something.
Not
afterwards.
eating close to sleep.
Oh yeah,
that helps me
massive,
sleep so much.
Massive. Yeah, if you eat and then go to sleep like within like an hour afterwards, like you're missing out. Especially if you don't go walk or something first.
Yeah.
Like I heard or I read somewhere that if you even just go walk for 10 minutes right after you eat, you digest your food like 4 times faster, and so you can then go and like lay down and not have that situation happen where you sleep so much better. We've gotten way off topic of the sports sphere.
We have.
I'm not surprised. That's kind of
It's kind of the whole point.
It's kind of our thing. I think we covered just about everything else. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you feel like you want to talk about in this particular episode?
No, not really. I could talk about sports all day.
Yeah.
So.
If this was something that was interesting to you, let us know. If there was a question about, fatherhood, parenting, and sports, and something with maybe your kids or your brother's kids or something, like, let us know. Put it in the comments. We're going to go into a more lighthearted section of underrated, overrated, which is...
We'll have a good one today.
Quite possibly one of my favorite things that we do outside of just the fact that we get to do this for fun. You said you have one today because I don't have one. I'm ready. You get to ask me. I'm excited. Let's go.
I'm hoping that you have watched this movie. I'm assuming you have.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Every time you do an entertainment one, I'm worried because like ever since you asked me about Diddy, I was like, now I'm.
And it's since it's sports related today, I thought it was on theme. Overrated, underrated, or rated exactly where it needs to be. The Sandlot.
Oh, all right, so let me talk about where I rate this movie first and foremost. This movie is a generation-defining classic for kids of our age who played pickup baseball, right? Like in a dirt lot that wasn't maintained by anybody and backed up to people's houses. Like that was a vibe in the 90s.
And it was a thing.
It was a thing. It was a huge thing.
Yes.
There were baseball fields at parks or a softball field technically, right? Because it's not separated clay, that weren't maintained by anybody.
Yeah.
And it was just kids out there throwing things down as first base, putting a frisbee here or a hat there, playing with the glove that they've got, and maybe 2 baseballs. And everybody had their own, everybody had a bat. None of them were good.
Yeah.
And anytime, just like in the movie, anytime anybody got new shoes, it was the day to break them in, and they were going to play awesome.
Yeah.
I did not do a ton of that.
Okay.
I played every other sport. We even played tennis baseball over regular baseball, where you played in the street.
Yeah.
I played 2-hand touch football. I played pickup basketball.
Yeah.
We played handball. We played wall ball. We played racquetball. I did not do a ton of baseball, only because none of my friends, we didn't trust each other to actually throw a baseball at you. Like the hardest thing we would throw at each other was a tennis ball.
Right.
Like that's it. Sandlot, however, is a perfectly rated movie as I rate it. I think that it holds a very special place in my heart as the way that I grew up as an outside kid with other kids who were outside sports kids. No matter what neighborhood I was in, we were all sports kids. It's what we did. We went outside, we played pickup sports, roller hockey, like I just said.
Yeah.
That movie was probably a little too grown up for me, but the lifeguard scene and the kid pretending to
Wendy
drown.
Peppercorn?
Yeah, Wendy Peppercorn. That's right. The lifeguard scene and Squints pretending to drown so that Wendy Peppercorn would kiss him.
Super relatable.
100% relatable, because there
Great
was
scene.
also the community pool that we went to, even because this movie's supposed to take place like
In the 50s.
in the 50s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even in the 90s, that was still
Yeah,
a
you had
thing.
the-
You
yeah.
still went to the
You still have the
community
community
pool. I mean,
pools
they
and
still
stuff,
here,
yeah.
but I don't feel like they're as popular now. But
Also, in Florida,
everybody has a pool.
Yeah, everybody has a pool, so you go less to a community
Yeah,
pool.
I don't have a pool. You don't have a pool, but there's
Right, but
everybody has a pool.
everybody has a pool.
Yeah, but that's super relatable. There's always the hot lifeguard.
Yes.
Always, and the 12-year-old boys egging each other on, like, you won't go talk to her, you won't go talk.
Yes.
Like, but yes, that movie is chef's kiss. So good, so good. A lot of that movie carried over into our childhood for sure, even though it took place in the 50s. And there will never be a movie like that for this generation, I don't think. I don't think there will be a coming-of-age sports-related movie because of the way technology has advanced. A lot of the things that happen in that movie, like, they don't happen now because everyone's texting or TikToking or whatever. But that movie is, if anything, it's underrated. It's so good.
Yeah. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I love The Sandlot. I'm so glad you asked about The Sandlot. I was really, so I'm over here sweating. I was like, he's going to ask about Hoosiers, and I've never seen Hoosiers.
I've seen it, but I'm not a huge fan of Hoosiers. It's a great movie, but
Yeah. And then the other movie that was going to my head was Hardball. I was really worried you were going to ask me about
no,
Hardball.
definitely not.
Great movie.
Great movie.
Not a happy movie.
Right.
If you haven't watched Hardball, go watch Hardball.
Yeah,
But,
it is a good movie.
all right, Sandlot. Tell me your review of Sandlot.
I think it's I think it's underrated. Just because I feel like it was a good enough movie to be respected by people that didn't play baseball, which it did, right? But for the most part, like, it's loved by people that were around baseball or like
they were brought up in baseball.
brought up in baseball, stuff like that.
Whether it became their life or not.
Right, but
they connect to that
I feel like
childhood.
it could have been mainstream would love that movie, and I feel like it didn't get that notoriety like it should have.
It was also marketed as a kids movie.
Right, which it kind of is not. Like, it is a kids movie,
there's
but
a lot of grown up.
there's a lot of grown up themes. So I think it tends to be a little bit underrated, if anything. But
What year did that come out?
it came out in 94, 95.
So a year after The Lion King? Really?
Another great movie.
Sandlot. I love having IMDb as an app. 1993.
There you go, 93.
Wow. So what a year for movies.
Yeah.
In the summer of 1962.
So it's it's supposed to be in 62.
Early 60s.
Okay.
But I mean, you could still say the 50s were very much heavy because the style was still very 50s.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
The clothing, the sunglasses,
Yeah.
the Wendy Peppercorn.
Even the tone in the movie,
Yeah.
like the way that it was shot, etc.
the shoes.
Yeah. So underrated. I think everything about that movie is close to fucking perfect. They nailed baseball culture perfectly. They nailed like being a kid. Everything that you described, like growing up on the Sandlot and going to those type of fields and usually they were behind houses and like they nailed everything. They nailed the whole pool scene, like you said, perfectly. It also sprinkles in, which I love, a little bit of that Americana, and then they have the 4th of July, the fireworks, and that whole scene. Like,
Yeah.
I love
the
that.
dip and the carnival and them getting sick and all
my
that.
God, the getting sick, which is super baseball culture.
That's
like,
super baseball culture, that's the only scene I don't really
yes.
like feel in my
and
soul.
I've been there.
Oh, okay.
The first time I dipped and like that, I was like, like terrible.
Oh, it's awful.
And they did their chewing tobacco, which is different from like
Spitting tobacco.
Yeah, like dip, which
Yeah.
you put in here. The chewing tobacco usually you put like a big wad, or
okay.
you'll roll it around bubble gum.
They got a big wad, but yeah. I'll tell you what though, Big League Chew, the bubble gum.
Yeah.
That thing, that was a great idea, and it must have really blown up around the time that movie came out.
I'm assuming so.
Just 'cause-
I used to love Big League Chew. The flavors were amazing, and yeah, you would pick it up like chewing tobacco, like super cool. Which is probably not great because you're teaching kids like.
No, there's no way that's like a thing now, like that and candy cigarettes. Like those were things.
Yes,
at the community pool.
Yeah.
You could go to the ice cream guy and you could buy those things for like $1.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, underrated, man. I think everything about that movie, the storytelling was so fantastic. The history on it, like talking about the Babe Ruth and
I feel like I gotta
Legends
watch
Never
this
Die,
movie.
and
Legends Never Die.
what a great scene. You know, everything about that fucking movie was just
Great
chef's,
Bambino.
like you said, chef's kiss, perfection.
Yeah.
The banter between the kids, super relatable as a kid. Like growing up in sports, like you're fucking around with each other all the time. You're making fun of each other all the time.
Your nicknames are literally making fun of each other most of the time.
and that's something that's going away, you know, and there was something to that growing up of like that banter between friends and kids. Like, well, you know that it was that it was kind of disrespectful, but you know it came out of friendship, and like it was like it's hard to explain, but
I don't think it's hard to explain at all. Actually, it's a certain type of love language.
Yeah.
So my family and your family, I think, is very similar in that like teasing is a way that we
Yes.
show that we care. We love you and your flaws.
Yes.
Here's one of your flaws, you
Yes,
jerk. Right.
yes, yes.
And so
We tease a lot.
It's one of the things that Megan and I have had multiple discussions about. It's like, hey, when I stop teasing you, be concerned.
Yeah.
Like just so like I'm being very forthcoming with you right now.
Yeah.
If I stop teasing you, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Like if I'm just being very straight with you, not teasing you when you say something dumb or you do one of your mannerisms that I often tease you for and I don't tease you for it, be like, hey, what's wrong?
yeah.
Because that's a sign.
I agree, and that was part of that sports culture.
Yes,
was that was our
100%.
love language to each other.
100%.
Because guys are not going to tell you, "Yo, I love you, bro." Like especially not at that
Yeah,
age.
yeah.
So that's how you say.
Or if they did, it was like, "Hey, love you, you tiny dick asshole."
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
like it's negging right after doing something
Yeah.
super sweet.
Yeah. So and they nailed that perfectly in that movie because they're always the whole movie they're fucking with each other.
Yeah.
So I loved it. Yeah, it's one of my top 5 movies growing up.
Oh, man.
By the way, what an era for sports movies.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, like shit, you had The Sandlot. I watched The Big Green the other day. What a great movie.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
such a fucking great movie. What's the one with Kevin Costner?
Field of Dreams.
Well, there's Field of Dreams. Yes.
Oh, okay, I was like,
no, but there's another one of Kevin Costner where he played for
where he's a
Detroit.
pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh no! Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
We were already a little older because it's
Yeah.
an adult movie, but it's also a fantastic movie.
Oh no, that's gonna bother me.
Yeah. Then
We have IMDb as an app.
Then the Dennis Quaid movie it was a Disney movie that he was a coach in Texas, and then he ended up playing in the league. It was a real true story.
Oh, maybe that's the one I'm thinking of, but
That was Dennis Quaid though.
yeah. Actor. What? There's more though. There's more sports movies. Oh man, I gotta go way back. Holy crap.
Were you Kevin Costner?
Oh, Tin Cup.
Wow.
That wasn't for us as kids,
No.
but a movie. Chasing Dreams.
Is it Chasing Dreams?
Chasing Dreams. The baseball movie with Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
But he also did Field of Dreams. Oh, Bull Durham might be the one you're thinking
Bull
of.
Durham's another great movie.
Bull Durham's classic. So funny story. My cousin, her Save the Date announcements. They recreated this poster.
That's cool.
As their photo.
That's cool.
It was a very good.
But yeah,
Save the
point
Date.
being, that was a great era of movies, sports movies for us, and The Sandlot is possibly the top of that list for sure.
Oh man, I would need a list to corroborate that. But we could definitely talk about movies.
Put your top 5 in the comments. Your top 5.
If you can even narrow it down to 5, like
I don't think you can.
just list one that you really liked and why. But so we did Megan and I have actually had this conversation of trying to make a top 3 movies list or top 5 movies list. And I'm not going to ask you to do it right now because we don't have time for that. We got to cut this one off. But think about it, because maybe we can talk about that one day, about top 5 movies, and we'll get off of the heavy material of dadding, fatherhood. And
that's a tough one.
Talk shit. But all right, man, this has been fun. Thanks a lot. Leave any questions you have down in the comments. Can't wait to start a conversation about this kind of stuff, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Later.